Hello, world.
Hello, Bira, my friend Brian.
How are you doing, brother? Bira works
Fine.
here. Even though we're speaking in English today, we can go ahead and keep calling me Bira. I like that name.
Yeah, you are
How is
always
Denmark,
Bira.
my man?
Yeah, it's good. Good to be working and
Look
doing
at that out on
something.
the road. I like your bedroom. It looks very spacious.
I'm in a hotel, and in Denmark, the connection is not working. You see, so I had to come to the lobby of the hotel. But that's will be fine.
It'll work. It'll work. So what are you doing over in Denmark? Why don't you tell the people a little bit about like the run over there? Because it's super interesting that you're getting to go out and play again. And like, how's it all been going for you?
Yeah, we are playing schools with Pandeiro Repique Duo and other musicians from Denmark and France, and it's unbelievable to be possible to work in this very hard moment of humanity. It's a kind of brief because we are musicians and we need to play, But
Yeah, of course.
it's not time to. It's time to take care, and so we cannot do anything that will put you in a dangerous situation. So,
No, but
but in
that
Denmark, people
Denmark's a
are,
very different situation, obviously,
of
than what it
course, it's a
is
very small
here.
country. We Brazil lose for USA. That I think is
Yeah.
even worse than Brazil.
This is a terrible competition that our countries
Yeah,
are in.
exactly,
But
man.
for now, we seem to be winning, unfortunately. But it's just great to see you guys out there playing again and working with Strife, the other your project with the two Denmark musicians,
Exactly.
playing for kiddies. That's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. It's been very
So
good to play in the same groove, real time. It's very technological.
there's no lag. There's no lag in the room, man. That
Yeah,
must be really nice.
exactly, man.
I'm glad to hear that. So today we got a really fun show. We're going to be talking with Clarice Assad, who's an incredible vocalist, pianist, multi instrumentalist. She plays almost everything. Composer, arranger, and someone who's super well versed, obviously, in Brazilian tradition, being from there. She's from Rio, correct?
Yes.
Carioca. And then also having studied in the U.S. And studied composition here and arranging here and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a perfect person for us to talk to about all the universality of music and the universality of the pandero and everything that we talk about so much here. Because she's really kind of, Miles Davis had a great quote about this that I reference often, is that genres were made to sell records.
Hmm.
And that's really the truth of it. Even in like our method where we have all these different genres that you can go through, and you are free to mix and match and put all these things together because they're all music. That's the point of this, is that you play what you hear, and what you hear might not be relegated to a certain genre. And there are certain like stylistic aspects that, of course, grow up in a genre and wouldn't be that genre without a certain number of instruments, a certain style, all that kind of thing. But like, especially in the modern world and the way we kind of consume music now, the way we listen to things from all over, it's okay. It's not only okay, it's encouraged. It's a great thing to be able to kind of mix these types of and break whatever boundaries there are between these musics. And she does it not only between Brazilian and American music, let's say, because she studied here in the U.S., but between like classical and jazz, those worlds are separated a lot in the United States, and in lots of other places. Wherever there's academia, I think a lot of times there's just that kind of line between this is the classical school and this is the jazz school, and they're separate things, and da da da. But really, it's music is music, and we should be able to kind of communicate across those boundaries. And she's somebody who does that really well, and it's an amazing thing to get to talk to somebody like that today. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I think it also kind of fits a lot in with our concept that we talk about universality on the pandero. Breaking free of some of the traditions, breaking free of the restrictions maybe that are placed on an instrument, and not thinking of it so much of it as a regional instrument, but a universal instrument, right? Something that can reach beyond its borders. We talk a lot about drum set as being an example of that. Piano is an example of that. Vibraphone right behind me, I think is an example of that as well too, because you see it in a bunch of different places, and it's not relegated to just a certain style or a certain thing. Oh, good vibes, just in time, perfect. There's vibes right there. and Pandero is like that as well too. So with the modern technique, we can not only play traditional samba, traditional choro, all that sort of stuff, but we can branch out into other styles. And so one of the styles that's like way off the board, I think, for us to look at would be getting into the world of electronic music, right? Because that's away from instruments entirely. What are the instruments in electronic music to you, Bernardo?
Yeah, I think the research for timbres, for colors, for possibilities make me pay attention for this word.
Yeah.
And that gives a lot of ideas and in the way to play in not electronical situations.
Yeah, totally. Because they're using colors that are maybe like kind of like outside of our palette. They're using instruments like electric xylophone. Thank you, Michael Caterasano. That was very nice of you.
Michael.
I got one over there. And using timbres outside of what we might find naturally. But then we can kind of take like our rhythmic synthesizer that we think of the pandero as, and go ahead and put those timbres onto the pandero. So let's kind of check out, I think we got one loaded up here now. That's you playing dubstep. Talk a little bit about some of your research into dubstep. How'd you find that music, and like, why did you want to adapt that to pandero? What's up with that crazy idea?
Once, me and Gabriel, Pandero Repique Duo, even every place we go, we like to see the music that is made, is people playing in this place and just in this place. Like, for example, when we go to Tanzania in Africa, we want to see the drums and go to research and go deeply in this culture. And once we were in London and we went to, what we will do Friday night, let's go to electronical. And we went to Fabric, that's a famous one. And they are playing dubstep, and it was fantastic. It was like go to a terreiro, going to a place with drums and trance, So totally. Same thing when I saw this culture of Afro religion, I saw like in the way that there is a trance and people are in another dimension, and this, of course, is very different, of course. But
but it kind of speaks from the same place. I get the connection.
Exactly. Tribal connections.
Yeah, hits us right here, and something very human for sure. We like to hear groove over and over and over and over and over again, and it kind of opens you up into a different state of being that we like to be in. All right, so let's check out a little bit of that. We got some dubstep here loaded up. Oh, not that part. Let's go back here.
O dubstep também é um ritmo criado em Londres e é considerado um desdobramento do drum and bass. É uma levada poderosíssima também, né? E eu também adaptei desconstruindo o movimento alternado, os toques alternados. A primeira levada que eu vou apresentar aqui apresenta combinações bem peculiares. O legal desse tipo de levada, né, eletrônico, assim, de uma forma geral, é brincar com a ideia de camadas, de ter um elemento dobrado atuando junto com um elemento desdobrado, né, uma intenção pelo menos, alguma coisa no ar. A utilização da técnica de mudança de tom dá um colorido a mais nessa levada.
Yeah, and then of course we got it kind of like slowed down as well too, so that you can break down what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice, man. So I like the pandero, especially the one that you're using right there, that Cooperman, like really speaks to that kind of like. I always get this right when I go and play out live. Somebody comes to me like, "Where's your trigger, man? Where's the 808?" And like because the pandero has that kind of sound to it already, especially that one. It's got a really round, low end to it, and so you can really lay into the electronic kind of sound, the electronic style of things.
Yeah.
So for your next dubstep gig. You will be ready. You will be ready.
Yeah.
You'll probably actually use it in a different way. You'll probably take something like that. And the whole idea behind the method, obviously, again, is to like teach you how to make your own stuff like that and follow your own influences. It's kind of an example, a pathway, for you to learn not only the technique of the instrument itself, but then like, all right, what are some creative ways that I can bring my own voice into this instrument? And that's a thing that we really try and bring you along with and try and share with you.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
Speaking of creative voice, we have a creative voice to talk to today. Segue. Fantastic. All right. Let's check out here. We're going to bring on Clarice Assad, but before, we want to check out a little bit of some of her work so that you guys get a bit of a feel of what we're going to be getting into today. I think one of the ones that we had pulled up was something that she did recently with the Albany Symphony, I think. So let's go ahead and check that out. Hold on. Let me do all the mechanics that I need to do here. Hey, Bernardo, why don't you kill some time? Tell us how you met Clarice.
What?
How did you meet Clarice? Where did you guys start together?
No, I'm a very friend of her brother, Rodrigo Assad.
Good man.
Rodrigo is a very, very good friend. That, for example, he's a very good director of movies. And that he did our release, Pandeiro Repique Do release. That is amazing. You should check it out in YouTube. Pandeiro Repique Do release, 2012, but it's very modern so far. And he's very friend, and he introduced me to Clarice. That is something very huge. And we played together, I don't know, I think 10 years ago we did our first show. Or if it's not 10 years, it's 8 years. So
it's around there,
like,
yeah. Wow. Amazing. Okay, awesome. Let's check out some of this.
Eu fiz um samba porque tava afim, curtinho assim que nem pipi de querubim. Só pra mim, nem quis mostrar no botiquim. Mas o meu samba não se conformou, mal despertou, saiu de mim, me abandonou. Disse assim, é que eu nasci pra ser um show. Me deixa em pau, não para em casa, fica só batendo perna por aí, atrás da fama em que se deitou. Meu Deus, criei cobra com asa, que eu faço com esse aqui que diz que é bamba e bandeira? Iria um samba sem girar nem dor, a cara e força do meu mais molombo amor. Deu ruim, ele me fez de trampolim. De tudo um pouco o samba sambarcou. Quem é que vai guardar de cor um samba assim? Olha só, me encalacrou. Diz que da criatura tá ficar maquinando besteira. Você queria uma miniatura, toma agora um baita carreira, volta samba meu, que por mim já deu. Meu amor não é tal carnaval. Fiz um samba assim só de zoeira. Não era pra ser tá botando som pelo ladrão, sem noção, quer cutucar a imensidão. Acho que um dia ele me dá razão e volta a ser meu samba bom de pé no chão. Miúde, só pra mim, era só mais um, era só mais. Fiz um samba assim, só de zoeira. Não para ter vamos capital. Era só mais um samba bem comum, indefectível, todo igual. Fiz um samba que só faz crescer. Eu por mim no fim botava aqui. Sei que pode haver obra sem final pra quem gosta de dar asa cobra. Samba, samba de sobra.
Amazing, amazing. I think we know that Panderisha too.
Yeah, Kitogawa was with us some weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, right? Yeah. Stealing the show with the bass drum there at the end. Beautiful. Amazing. All right. Well, let's bring on our friend here.
Yeah, finally.
Clarice. Hello, hello, hello.
You guys, this was so great. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Clarice.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot to be with us.
It's much better having you here now. There's the two of us talking is enough already. Let's get into something.
That was an amazing groove over there that you were doing with the pandero and rhythm. Jesus. Wow.
What a beautiful video. That was amazing. So
That was really, I have to say, I mean, it was not because I'm involved, but it really took a lot of work from so many people, you know?
Yeah. When did that happen? That's fairly new, yeah?
Yeah, well, I know the Albany Symphony has a chamber orchestra kind of hybrid with less musicians in it. And then they did a project as soon as the pandemic started by commissioning a few composers to write for them.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's so nice. It was like work. It was very professional. It was very, very sweet. And then there was somebody who was supposed to put the music together in the video. They did a great job, I think.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Most of it was recorded on cell phones. And I had to do the mixing because, believe it or not, I had to do it because of the fact that this is a difficult groove for people to understand if they're not used to it, right? To know where the placement of everything is. So I had to go there and do it myself. And I was really scared. But anyway, came out good.
It did. It came out amazing. And yeah, whoever did the videography did a great job there with Keita at the end standing in the bass.
Oh, that was my idea because he sent it to me.
Yeah.
Look at that face. He has the same like all the way through the video. Very great.
Amazing. Well, thanks for joining us today. It's really amazing to get a chance to talk with you. So we're going to jump right into it. And like the professionals that we are, we have questions that are prepared that we can put on the screen.
Oh my God, this is so fancy. Okay.
But it's a good way to kick things off. And so we know you from your work, and we know you come from like an incredible musical family as well too. Musicians of the highest caliber.
Yes.
So what's your earliest memory of making music? Was
With
it
my
at home
father.
with them?
My father, yeah.
Yeah.
My father spent 24 hours a day practicing the guitar. I am not exaggerating. When he was not practicing, he was teaching.
Wow.
When he was not teaching, he was listening to music. So I was just, toddler around, like drooling and absorbing all this music.
Musical parenting.
Yeah, well, and then he would like be like, "Oh, give her some attention, poor kid, alone over there in the corner drooling." So he'd like pick me up and play some chord changes. And one day, I started singing. And he was like, "What? Wait a minute!" And then he started like playing chord progressions, and I followed him. So he's like, "Wait a minute!" And then he really wanted to screw up with me, and he played some really weird chord progressions, like going from crazy modulations, and I would wait a little and then go. So that was it. That's how it started. I became a pet project.
Let's see what this little thing can sing.
I know. It's really literally how it happened.
That's amazing. So, I mean, did you study with them in any formal sense? Or was it just kind of like around the house?
Around the house, very casual. He was the one who was practicing a lot with Odair, right? Like they wanted to become this. I mean, they became that duo, yeah, but there was a price to pay, They really worked constantly. And I got to hear that because I was just around.
Yeah.
So you start singing.
Yeah, I started singing. I couldn't play anything. I really couldn't because I was born with this genetic, weird, rare disorder. Yay, lottery. But that means that my joints, they're still very flexible. But when I was a kid, I couldn't really like do anything with my hands. So can you imagine the frustration of not being able to like have all this music inside of your mind and not be able to play? Like I wanted to, and I couldn't. And then my dad was like, "Oh God, that's terrible." But he knew I would have like some kind of a talent for music. So he pushed me towards composition, right? He's like, at the very least, should be able to get it out on the page, on paper.
That makes sense.
Right? Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So you would do that at an early age? He was like pushing you to compose when you're like 10 years old, that kind of stuff?
Oh, before that. Because, before that he had to go away. He had to go. He got, Brazil at that time, in the 80s. It's still hard for musicians there, but in the 80s.
You have to leave the country.
He had to go. And then that was so impossible for us to see each other. He could only visit once a year because of money. And there's this very good story and this very funny story because they lived in Brussels, my uncle, and then my father in Paris, and no money because it was so expensive to call home, And then there was a lot of time that you had to speak to the family. And one time was Odair's birthday, and Odair's ex-wife called the kids very little, like, "Okay, sing happy birthday to daddy." And they started like, "Happy birthday." He's like, "Faster!"
We're paying for this.
We're very lucky now to have, FaceTime and like
That was not happening back in the 80s. You didn't have the latest iPhone in the 80s?
No, that's how samba became fast.
Exactly.
Time is money.
Time is money, baby. Wow, so. I mean, like, what age did you then start playing with instruments? How long did it take before you get there?
Well, I had that difficulty, but I was very I guess perseverance is strong because I really wanted to make music no matter what. So I started just forcing my way through the piano. Eventually I got a little stronger. I never became the pianist I wish I was, but at least I could play.
Yeah.
But because I had been singing all the time and being able to create, then I could apply all of this organic, like really literally doing music with your body and singing to the instruments. So it was not as painful once I actually started playing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because you were preparing yourself essentially. You were learning here.
Yeah, because I think it really has to come from your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
First, yeah.
There's a Nana Vasconcelos quote that I reference all the time, which is that like the first instrument was the voice, and the best instrument is the body. And like that speaks a lot to that as well too. It's got to come from here. Like the voice is kind of the beginning of it all, but we have this urge to express it in other places on our body.
Yes.
They're kind of more adept at doing that.
Yes.
Then
There was
maybe
a sense of desperation, like, oh, I get it out. So I started imitating all these instruments and trying to play with colors. That's where my love for orchestration probably comes from. Like, oh, I want to do overtones now. I want to do little beatbox, all that stuff.
And I saw interview you saying that it take a long time to get some female reference in music, that like it was missing that, and at some point you got.
Yeah, well, you have to remember that I'm 42 and a half. So you think about when I was growing up, there was no internet. I was in Brazil, so everything got a little confused because everything was so late, came so late to us in Brazil. So yeah, the references that I had were mostly male. Mm-hmm. Of the composers anyway, right? The European composers for sure.
Of course, yeah.
Right? And then you have the most performed composers, at least that I heard around the house, were Egberto Gismonti, the contemporary guys, Renato Pascoal. And then there were the singers, all the Brazilian singers, who were mostly women, which is great, but not most of them were mostly singers who sang people's music, and a handful of them who sang their own music, like Joyce, Guedes, but you really can count them on the hand. And then none doing arrangements, except for maybe one or two people who were completely obscured by everything else that was happening. So yeah, tough to see yourself making it in this world as a woman at that time.
Because you just had kind of a small role that was expected of you to fill, right? Singer who's singing other people's songs, and that's the main pathway that you saw. Whereas you kind of wanted to do other things.
I just didn't have I knew I wanted to do music, but I didn't see a lot of women writing for orchestras. Not that they weren't around. They were definitely underrepresented.
Yeah.
Or
using pen names as well too for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a little scary. I mean, you have to kind of go over the rainbow to see all this stuff. But luckily, I came to the U.S. at a good age because my professor she is still, of course, a woman. So that really helped me, give me that. Oh, okay, it's possible.
There is something out there.
Yeah, but by the time that happened, I was already almost 20 years old. Before that, my earliest formative years were difficult to find somebody to look up to.
So, but then you came here to go to school. Was that it?
Yeah, I came here to go to school and go back to Brazil. But here I am.
We had a question about that, right?
Which one? There you go.
Oh, wow. I really like this thing very much. I came here in 1997. First to study English because I got Fs on all my English exams, really 0. Even though I looked over somebody's wrong answers.
You got to pick your classmate who you're sitting next to.
I didn't even know that much. Really bad. So my drive to be a musician was so high. It was I will learn this language no matter what, fast enough to take the exam and go to college. That was it. So I came in 1997.
And what school did you go to?
First, after I took the exam, I went to Berkeley School of Music.
Oh, nice.
Because at that time, Berkeley is still a huge school, but at that time, it was oh my God, it's the school to go to if you want
Mecca,
It's the Mecca, right?
Yep.
But it wasn't for me.
I think it's not for a lot of people. That's a common story that happens,
But it's hard to know, we have to be there to know. I really wanted to learn orchestration, and they didn't have that at the time. They do have it now, but not in the 90s, no.
So then where'd you go after that?
Then I remember giving my father a very difficult call because I had already enrolled in school, immigrated, all that. Wow. And then he had just gotten together with his now wife, but they were a very young couple. And I'm hello, Daddy. I want to go live with you guys. So not good. But thank God she's awesome. Angela is great. She's like, okay, she can come. And then I went to Chicago to a conservatory.
Oh, okay, fantastic. And then you've stayed in Chicago since then.
And then I stayed.
Nice. That's a beautiful city.
It's a nice city.
I have a friend there. A buddy of mine, Brooks Truly, went to Roosevelt there.
That's where I went to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh my God. I can
That's
see.
funny. That's the one school that I know there because my buddy went there.
That's nice. It's a good school.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. And so there you met a teacher who kind of inspired you and showed you that there was some possibilities, and you got to dive into the orchestration.
Yeah. She was very. She was tough. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She was really tough, which was good for me because I was like,
fluttering through life.
Just playing like piano here, and I'm not very disciplined. And she put me like.
That's good. You need that.
I needed that. And then she was like, "This is the only way you're gonna make it in this field, honey, is that if you toughen up, kind of." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll do it now. I want it, I want."
Man, but sage advice. Those are good words to hear at that age to kind of give you like a kick in the ass to move forward and go in the right direction.
Yeah, worlds collide. Yeah.
So I mean, you mentioned that like your father kind of pushed you towards composition at a young age, but I imagine that you also had some just inspiration on your own, people that you looked up to, composers that you looked up to, arrangers that you looked up to.
Yes.
Who were those people? Who were the guys that you were chasing?
I mean, mostly, like I would say that the stuff that made me like go crazy when I heard the first time were the big orchestrators like Ravel, because my father was really into French music. And then I heard, of course, Ravel's orchestration of Pictures at an Exhibition, which is a good piece for young people.
Yep.
It's not really complicated. I mean, the melodies are really straightforward, and you have all the imagery to go by, and the orchestration is
story arc.
Yeah, it's nice, right? It's easy getting into the musical world of classical music. So that was one of them. And also Mahler, the First Symphony, pretty much, all these big orchestral things just blew me away. I couldn't understand how that was possible. Like, how can you create that? I really looked for that for the rest of my life. Like, I want to do that. I really want it. Like, more people, the merrier, I love that so much. And then, of course, there were the guys I already mentioned to you, because these were the people, like, my father was playing, like, championing their music. He was championing Egberto Gismonti's music. So, it's inevitable, that you're going to get that into your heart.
And I think you probably had that understanding of a very young age of how that worked, having like a composer and a performer, and how that kind of thing, those people can kind of help to grow each other, and somebody might take the music in another direction, but it originally comes from this thing, as opposed to, just only dealing with people who write and play their own music,
Yeah.
It's a different mindset entirely.
It is a different mindset.
And I think it has a lot to do with just, classical study as well, too. I did all my degrees in classical percussion. So that's my background as well, too. And, like, that's how I started as well, too. It was like, all right, here's a piece of paper. You play what's on here. And, like, well, who is this person? Where did that come from? Like, and a lot of times that's just glossed over, especially at a young age. Like, no, shut up, play it. But, like, once you learn about a certain composer and you learn about, for me, I mean, the reason that I do any of this stuff was my teacher at University of Miami, Dr. Ney Rosario, who's a Brazilian composer, marimbist, and I remember playing the first movement of his marimba concerto like when I was in high school, and there's an iconic left-hand line, and I practiced that for hours and hours, and I'm trying to get that together. And then when I started applying for schools, I applied to University of Miami because both my parents went there, and I get an email or a letter, who knows what it was so long ago, back from Ney Rosario. It's like, well, it's that guy. That's a living person. Because everything else that I had been playing, like Bach transcriptions.
Dead guys.
It was all dead people. This guy's alive? Wow. I could meet him? That's incredible.
I was like, some friend of mine said, when that movie came out a long time ago, I see dead people. This percussion guy, I play dead people. It was so funny. That's like the only they play.
And that's how it is. We're growing up in the orchestra anyway. Is like there was like a big disconnect
Yes.
between like the players in the group and like the people who wrote that music, 500 years ago or whatever it was.
But this is a complicated issue because, like, for example, like we are in the Americas, right? I mean, except for Bernardo right now, he's in Denmark. But we are from this part of the world, and we have the European connection, of course, influence because these guys settled, 500 years ago in Brazil, for example. Actually, it's more now. But what about everything else, right? I mean, the other thing is like when I was a kid, that was not the only kind of music I was listening to. I was listening to pop on the radio. I was listening to brega music. I was listening to sertanejo. All this stuff was coming choro because my grandfather was a chorão. I mean, these were all other influences I had. And Umbanda too, because I went to Umbanda really young. I went because I had people in my family who went to giras, and I would go with them. And guess
probably
what?
have some people, some Americans or others who don't know what Umbanda is. So can you explain a little bit, like what the setup is behind that?
Oh yes, well, Umbanda is one of Brazil's religions that is really kind of the combination of every religion you can imagine that came to Brazil combined, right? It has a little bit of Spiritism, it has a little bit of Catholicism, and it has the origin of Candomblé, which is an African religion, mixes everything together into one. So a lot of...
and also the native.
The natives as well, of course, they treat a lot of... thank you, Bernardo, you're right. Everything coming together, right?
Yeah, very Brazilian.
Herbs, yes, because they use also the herbs to cure, and that's very indigenous native.
Right.
Oh man, it's amazing. So you get everything into that, the chanting, the rhythms, and what they mean, the orixás, the entities, right? Each rhythm is for one entity. It's extraordinarily beautiful, powerful. And when you're a kid, this stuff just goes straight to your heart, I think. At least it went straight to mine.
This explains your swing, Clarice.
I remember one time that, because I used to go and they used to pray and get me. It's hard to translate these things, but the initiation, things like that. Like, so I was never into the religion. I could never be, but I was a person who went a lot and absorbed a lot of that into my life. Yeah, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, it really is. I've been that fly on the wall in like some Santeria ceremonies here in Miami, and just like to be a part of that and see like the power of music, but the power of people in that gathering, is something that really like makes a huge impression on you. And as a musician, to see the music's role in that is something that left a huge impression on me.
Of course, like how can it not? I think with that year too, my uncle, classical guitarist, can you imagine? When he was a child, and it used to be, they lived in rural São Paulo, so they didn't have access to that, but they moved to Rio. And once they moved to Rio, it started. And he played tambor.
Oh, wow.
Either Candomblé or Umbanda for a long time. And then it's interesting because once they started playing Piazzolla, later on, the classical guitar duo, playing Piazzolla and Brazilian music and samba and all this stuff on the classical guitar, when you see what they do the batuque, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what? How did you learn that? And then,
It explains a lot. Yeah, it doesn't just come out of nowhere.
No, it did not come out of nowhere. Yeah, it comes from that, but they don't even talk about it because it's so long ago,
Yeah. That's a cool thing, the overlap in classical guitar world with especially like, your family and all the influence that they've had. But like I lived with one of my roommates in college was Douglas Laura.
Oh wow, great! I love him.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy and like great friend. I love the dude, and he was my roommate like when I think I was just starting my master's degree.
You guys were roommates?
Yeah, we lived in the same house together. We had this tiny little house that was like it was a garage behind somebody else's house. Like
that's scary.
We went through some hurricanes together where there was like no power, and I come home and I'm living with two classical guitarists, Douglas and this other guy, Ryoji, a Japanese guitarist, and they would just be sitting in there with like around candles, like practicing.
Yeah.
But the way he played was different than everybody else at the school, any other classical guitarist at the school, because he came from Brazil and because he had that rhythmic tradition. Now, I don't know that he was playing tambor or anything like that, but like just being around choro, just being around samba and all that sort of stuff, like you could tell like his sense of rhythm was grounded in something other than the classical tradition.
Oh, he plays 7-string guitar so masterfully. Yes.
Monster.
It's like, I remember that. I wrote a concerto for him and João Luiz Rezende.
Yeah,
The João guitar concerto for the Brazil guitar duo,
right?
Yes, and then we did that with a Polish orchestra, like a year ago or so. And then he brought his guitar, his 7-string guitar, and I'm like, don't play what I wrote. Just add that thing. Just do whatever you want.
That's the mark of a good composer. Not married to your material. You want the total thing to really speak. That's good. That's good.
I know. So great. Love it.
So, all right. So speaking of composition and arrangement, so we already got that one. Throw it down. There's another one here that's better. There's another one that here is better. There we go. We found it. What instruments do you find yourself most attracted to write for? And how do you approach instruments that you don't regularly play?
Everything is with the voice. Everything. I mean, approach to writing for instruments is like studying the capabilities, right, of each instrument. That's a very important thing. You study a lot of instrumentation. You listen to a lot of music, use your ears, and then try to sing it back. Mm-hmm. Singing back is always the best thing. You know why I know that? Because he's like, what instruments do you find yourself most attracted to write for? All of them. But no, like, I love the combinations of instruments. You know, like it's like a recipe to me. Like you know, chefs who get crazy when they have all these different ingredients they can use and can create things out of it.
And that's go by feel rather than recipe.
That's right. It's like, whoa, okay, I can try that and this color with that and mix everything. So it's everything and what comes out of the new sounds that come out of the combinations.
But you did say, and I'm going to hold you to this, that you're very attracted to percussion in general and that you seem to be doing a lot of writing for that.
But guess what? Look at the instruments that you get when you write for percussion. It's endless.
That's the thing. It's endless.
Bernardo does everything with the pandero, which is incredible, right? You're talking about translating everything there is to one instrument. Oh my God, it's incredible. But when you go the other way too, you have all these other families of instruments within the category of percussion. You have the keyboard instruments, you have the instruments that you play with your hand and mallets, even mallets, like you can go crazy just with the mallets, right? Mm-hmm. Hard mallet means something like, what your mallet?
I got a few of them here. I understand. Yeah. And then when you start to stack them together and you can reach over and play this, remember while you're playing this vibraphone? It's fun. It's like setting up a fort and getting to play with it. You know?
Exactly. So it's all about combinations and colors. And I really get excited about the world of creating new sounds, you know.
All right. Well, speaking of new sounds and percussion, I think we got a good one here that we can check out now. Is the one with you and your father playing with Third Coast Percussion, The Innocent.
Oh, sweet.
I love this one. Let's have a look at some of this.
Very good. This was recorded on pandemic time,
Oh yeah,
Corona time.
Corona time.
Yeah.
We were on tour right before pandemic started. We had so many concerts lined up and canceled like everybody else. So sad.
Brian, you have to unmute your microphone.
No, you don't need to hear anything I'm saying.
I'm just laughing.
Exactly. They're amazing. Third Coast they're really incredible.
I know. I'm really so happy we're collaborating on this project.
And it's such beautiful collaboration, but a beautiful sound collaboration between the guitar and the vibes and the piano, and the drummer is really light and beautiful within that sound. Like, very nice stuff.
Can you imagine the amount of time that was spent on finding that balance? That's what I love about them. Really, they really take the time to figure out like what will work, and it's just a beautiful process.
Where are they based out of? Are they in New York?
No, they're right here in Chicago.
Right there in Chicago?
They are.
Yeah, all the good things are happening in Chicago.
Your
Maybe
father
I will
as well?
sometime.
Your father as well?
My father too, yeah. We don't see each other because of this virus, but we're all here, yeah.
Man, what are the Assad family FaceTimes like? It's gonna be very musical.
It's loud.
It's
A
loud.
lot of talking over each other.
So how did you find Third Coast? How did you get linked up with those guys?
They're very well known in the classical contemporary music scene, as you can imagine, and just also because of the Chicago connection. Their label, Cedille Records, I've worked with them before, the label, so the connection was there. And I really wanted to do this project that I dreamed this project entirely in my mind. It was crazy. Do you know the archetypes, the young archetypes, like the innocent, the hero, all the...
Okay, yeah.
I just had this thought, oh, wow, it would be amazing to create music for each archetype. And then that's how this came together. And I was thinking with my dad, I wanted to do something with my dad, but not only with him, and also like, let's bring lots of colors and great people we would love to play with. And immediately we thought Third Coast Percussion, and they said yes. So it was like, yay. So we recorded it. We recorded this album in February or March of this year before everything closed.
Wow, beautiful. Well, as soon as it opens back up, you guys are going to be out there killing it with that stuff. I can't wait to see it.
I think so. It's going to be like leaving like the horses that are ready to run. I feel like
everybody's going to rush. Everybody's going to rush out of the
We're going to be like, go.
Got all these notes backed up. I got to get out.
Oh, desperate. Yeah. I want to share the notes with the world.
All right. So in addition to performance and composition, do you teach as well too? Do you have any kind of programs where you're teaching and working within that? And what kind of musical understanding do you work within that realm?
See, I love teaching because it's how you learn, right?
Yeah, totally. It really is. You're onto something there.
Me and Brian, we know very well, right?
Totally.
We did the Pandera method together, me and him. So we learned a lot.
You know, I cannot wait to get a hold of that. I'm going to look for it. As soon as we're done here, I'm gonna go to that site.
We'll hook you up.
It looks really good, but the thing about teaching is that I really love teaching and collaborating with people. So I think that goes hand in hand. And the way that I found my voice teaching is by leading classes and workshops that have to do with making music with your body and your voice, of course. So I created this workshop called Voxploration. And pretty much is everything that we've been talking about. Colors, making different colors with your voice, making vocal arrangements, improvising, all with your voice. And using the system of rhythm that anybody can understand, which is really cool. I don't know if you know the conical syllables. Yeah. Of course you know. Duh! You know it.
Percussion nerds. Yeah.
And do you know the Wakati group?
Yeah, Wakati.
Yeah. They came up with this system of geometry where you would write like a circle is 1, 2 circles 2, a triangle is 3, a square is 4, and so forth. So anybody can look at that and understand, instead of thinking in musical terms like notation, that's what it is. So I started combining the conical with that and beatboxing. And then anybody can create complex rhythms out of there. I'm telling you, anyone can do it. It's like there's no like, see, I'm gonna show you where the quarter note is. No, there's no quarter note. There's no need for that. And that's later. First, you understand what this is, and then oh my god, it's amazing. Especially like it doesn't matter what age, like kids who never had experience or adults who struggle their whole lives to understand music notation, they get it immediately. It's like it's magic.
How did you? I mean, how did you like start running those things? Because there's one thing to come up with that conceptually, but the idea of like running a group and leading a group.
I think it came out of frustration at first, the frustration of not being able to get everybody to do the same rhythm or the same groove, especially if you wanted to go to something more complex like odd meters. And like it's like what, you know? But if you put like a triangle next to a square, they can do it.
Oh yeah, 3 and 4. I get this.
Amazing. And then it was something that evolved with time and trial and error. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I see it because I have a group called Miami Bloco in Miami where we do Rio style Bloco, and I teach a lot of hand signals and do the same sort of thing with just trying to get people who have never played this stuff before up and running and like play something that they maybe can't conceive of, but they can do, you know?
Yes.
Like they'll just get it out if you give it to them the right way, you know? And I also found it a lot working in the classical realm as well too, being with people who maybe, especially as a percussionist, like when you grow up in that classical realm and like everything is kind of, as a percussionist, you're separated and you're kind of like, you're putting this box over here and you work on your things separately. And a lot of times people are over here working on long tones and tone and things like that. Maybe we don't think about it. We just think about hit this now. And so we have this kind of like bent towards that angle. And then I would be in wind ensemble and there'd be this part that's like 7/8 by 13/8 and the oboe player wasn't getting it. It's like, why don't you understand what's going on here? And trying to like communicate that to people. I can imagine I did it a lot as like a coach within those settings, just trying to get people to feel where the rhythm is.
Yes.
Had a lot to do with it, yeah?
Exactly. Well, yeah. And it's so important to get everybody together.
Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because I think Brian selected some example of Clarice doing.
I do, and I got it right here. Look at that. Hold on. Yes, exactly. This is exactly what we're talking about. Is we've got a clip of you running the Voxploration class.
Oh,
there's a beautiful video that you had online where you kind of explain a lot of what we just talked about, and then at the end, you kind of show you running it within a class format so that everybody can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about here. Putting it all together.
You guys found that? That I'm impressed.
This was pretty amazing. I enjoyed this one.
endless possibilities to what can be done with the voice. I'll be talking about many other things here in these videos, so if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
Amazing.
That is so
That's
adorable.
super cool.
I want to do the
That's super
class
cool.
now.
You know what? These kids
Yeah.
were so amazing. They were fantastic. Fantastic kids.
So
Thank you for playing that.
so where was that? Where'd you do that class at?
I applied for a grant, the McKnight Visiting Composer Fellowship, and I got it. So I was resident teacher. I designed my own program, and I was at the St. Paul Conservatory, where the kids are going there for arts, like different tracks, music theater. Then they have dance. I worked a lot with the dancers, actually. So like I don't move very much, but by the end, because I was with these dancers, I was like, woo, myself. It helped me with my own body, It was amazing.
Teaching is how you learn.
That's right. So yeah, it was with these guys. And then at the end, what happened is like one of the tracks had a presentation that had been kind of rehearsed. But to my surprise, all the other kids from all the other tracks came, because each class had like maybe 15 students, but you see there are a lot more students there because they came to watch. And at the end I said, do you want to do a circle as a giant one? And they're like, yeah. And then somebody filmed it. It was like a totally impromptu, and I'm glad somebody was there to film.
How you use the signals in your hand? How it works? More or
Well,
less.
you kind of create your own vocabulary. You just let people know ahead of time what this means, what that means, or what this means, or anything you want to create. Like if you say, this is what, and you go like that, they're going to respond because they already know the vocabulary. And then when it's like words, right? Once you put them all together, then you create phrases, and it's just so much fun.
But you have to be cognizant of like how much information people can actually absorb.
Yes.
And once you start going over like too many different gestures, then all of a sudden you start to lose people and the madness of it. So it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
When you're working with a group like that, and you have to read the room and
That's
kind of see
right.
what everybody's understanding in the moment. It's a performance
right.
within the composition.
You have to be a little bit psychic.
Yeah.
It's true. I remember like I taught this in Brazil camp for the first time, and then this sound healing woman came up to me. She's like, I think you have psychic powers. And I was like, nice to meet you. I was like, so scared. I don't know. She says she saw like lights come out of my head, and like, okay, fine. But the point is like she saw that I can pretty much read the energy in the room. Like I know a kid who's like not going to respond because they probably don't sing. Like they're not used to singing. So I know that if I give them a beat, they will respond better to that.
Right. Yeah.
You just get to feel like you see their fear come, like face of people. And why do that, right? You don't have to. You want to make everybody comfortable.
You want to make everybody, yeah. And I think I find always if I kind of break the ice by myself by being the idiot,
Yes.
If you go into the room and you are not afraid to do any of these things, then it's very hard for other people in the room to be afraid of it as well too.
You hit the nerve, man. You have to be a clown.
Yep, totally.
I'm a clown when it comes to these situations. I can be very serious, but I can be very silly too.
I think it's important. I think somebody who does that really well is Gabriel with his group Batuque Batu, because like that's kind of where I got, because I like doing this I've done this with kids. I've done something like that, more rhythmic, but the same idea of just like here's some hand signals. But I remember going to see him with Batuque Batu, and the way he was able to kind of read the room and see who is ready for what, and also just kind of play a role in that room as well too. You can't be passive. You have to be like controlling of what's going on in a benevolent way that makes people feel included, which is like a complex sentence to get out, let alone, actually do it in the room. And are you guys doing those clinics in Denmark now where he's doing that kind of stuff with the kids?
we are playing for kids, but it's a show. Like we do interaction with them, but
interaction in the show.
But as I said in the beginning of this live, there is rules in Denmark that they are always changing and based on the effects of the virus of corona. But for example, we cannot interact with them using voice right now. Right now, they can clap. They can do like this, and there is some limits. For example, today we are discussing if we could do this kind of thing.
That's the world we live in now.
Yeah.
So weird. It's the worst world for singers.
Yeah.
It's really rough. Can't really sing with a mask.
I know. And can you imagine like a choir, how it's going to...
No, I'm thinking you can probably get some really good sounds out of it too.
That's true. It's like just a new texture.
A mute on, the trumpet. You just...
And you could have different masks for different muting qualities. I like this idea.
Brian, thank you for that. You just gave me a very good idea.
Write them down, because I'll forget them.
It's right here. I'm good.
Beautiful.
Wow.
It was really amazing to get to finally meet you, Clarice. I feel like I've known you for a while just by following you and knowing this guy as well too.
It's because of this guy over there, that Bernardo and Gabriel was sleeping now.
Yeah.
Bringing worlds together, but it was super amazing to get to talk with you and kind of like
one more question before because I think it's important one.
Okay.
That is this one here to talk about our friends.
There you go. Let's plug our friends.
I won't answer this question because it doesn't mean as much as what I'm going to answer.
Okay. Even better.
Okay. I want to collaborate with Bernardo and Gabriel.
There you go.
I have been wanting to do this for a long time, not just like a show every 10 years, but we've been talking about having a concerto.
Yeah.
And Bernardo came with this amazing concept called, even I named the concerto already because I wrote some grants to get, funds to do it at some point, but it didn't happen. But it's amazing because it was going to be the evolution of the music of Rio de Janeiro. So take all of the stuff that comes from Rio, all the composers, Villa Lobos, Jobim, favela music, everything that you can imagine from Rio, and evolve into a composition. And I think we actually finally have somebody interested in doing it. So
nice. Clarice, in 2 weeks, Wednesday, we will have here Barão do Pandeiro, that is expert in this moment of Rio de Janeiro. We are talking about the beginning of samba, choro, Pichinguinha, Estácio.
That's going to be a place to start research. Amazing. But it's going to happen, man. I can feel it.
Amazing. Okay. Well, then, since that's already in the air, I know exactly what we're going to close with. I found a great video of the seeds of that project that will develop into something much more, I'm sure. But Clarice, thank you so much for being here today.
Bernardo, you guys, thank you so much.
It was really incredible. And so everybody go follow Clarice Assad on Instagram, on Facebook, on all of those things that we spend so much of our time on nowadays.
Follow Groove Arte. Follow. How is your channel, YouTube channel?
Let's all follow each other, man.
Clarice Assad. You'll find it easy.
Clarice Assad on YouTube as well too. You don't have a pseudonym for that one? Follow Groove Art. You go to the Groove Art website and check the method out. And next week we have Boca Hayes from PRD Mais. So we're going to talk some Chimbao, talk Bahia. And then, to close out the September, we're going to be talking with Barão do Pandeiro, which I'm really excited for that one because it is a ton of knowledge about the beginnings of samba and all that stuff. Yeah. The things that guy has been sending in that Pandeiro WhatsApp group that we're in, just all these old recordings and videos are just unreal. So we're going to check.
I remember you, Clarice, about this too in Barão do Pandeiro one. I think we'll be inspired for this concerto.
There you go.
Put me in the group, man. Just put me in the group.
Beautiful.
Thank you, guys. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much. And
bye.
Check out Clarice Assad and Pandeiro Repique Duo.
no sound. Yeah.
Morena quem temperou, cigana quem temperou, cheiro do cravo. Morena quem temperou, cigana quem temperou, cor de canela. Cigana quem temperou, morena quem temperou, cheiro do cravo. Cigana quem temperou, cor de canela. Morena quem temperou, cigana quem temperou, morena quem temperou. Temperou, o cheiro do trago. Cigana quem temperou, morena quem temperou, a cor de canela, tá pegando que tanto. Cigana quem temperou, morena quem temperou, o cheiro do trago. Quem temperou, morena quem temperou, a cor de canela.
Que legal.